Let's use our new equation for determining the pH of a weak acid by looking at three different acids, all with the same concentration. We'll start with carbonic acid. So we've got carbonic acid, we have hydrocyanic acid, and we have iodic acid. So let's look at each one of these. First, we'll find the Ka. And then let's give each of them the same concentration. So we'll say our concentration will be 1e-3 for each one of them. And then let's calculate their pHs. Remember, the pH of a weak acid is going to be found using the negative log of the square root of the Ka times the concentration, the initial concentration of the acid. So when we do this calculation, again, we need to be very careful about our use of parentheses. We want to make sure that we're taking the Ka times the Ha, then take the square root of it. It's very common for students to type this into their calculators and accidentally do negative log and do some kind of operation like this of square root of Ka times that concentration. It's very common to make this mistake, and then you end up with a very inaccurate answer. So be careful of that. Make sure you're being intentional about how you use your parentheses in your calculator. So let's go ahead and do this first one. It's going to be the negative log of 4 points of the square root of 4.5e-7 times 1e-3. And so for our carbonic acid, we get a pH of 4.67. And now for our hydrocyanic acid, we get a pH of 6.10. And for our iodic acid, we get a pH of 1.88. And so we can see how each one of these, even though each one is at the same concentration, their pHs are very different because of this difference in that dissociation constant. So let's look at a couple more. Let's try and calculate the pHs of some weak acids with varying concentrations. Okay. So let's calculate the pH of chromic acid, the pH of nitrous acid, and the pH of phosphoric acid. Each one is at a different concentration. So go ahead and look up the values of these in a table. We'll do that. Get the Kas. So now go ahead, pause the video, and try and calculate the pH of each of these weak acids. See if you can get this. Our chromic acid is going to have a pH of 1.57. Our nitrous acid is going to have a pH of 4.01. And our phosphoric acid will have a pH of 2.81. How'd you do? Great. So we should be able to calculate these pHs for any weak acid by looking up our dissociation constant in a table and being given an initial concentration.